So 80% of the diseases that I treat as a doctor, even in the ER, will be based on a lifestyle that we're not very evolved to be. And I think that is important for people to know that with a better lifestyle, they can actually gain 24 more years of good life. If they improve their lifestyle.
Welcome to the Natural Health Rising podcast, where I challenge the outdated medical model and empower you with the knowledge to heal naturally. I'm Rachel Smith, a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who has helped hundreds of people eliminate symptoms of autoimmune diseases and mystery illnesses naturally. On this show, I dive into the real reasons behind health challenges, covering topics like gut health, toxins, nutrition, relationships, stress, and everything in between. My goal is to empower you, provide you with effective holistic health tips, and help you rise up to your healthiest, happiest self. On this episode, I have Dr. Torkil Færø with me, and Dr. Torkil is a general practitioner and emergency physician, a documentary filmmaker, author, and award-winning photographer. Over a 26-year career as a freelance doctor, he has worked all over Norway, has had over 100,000 consultations, and thus gained a unique picture of the diseases that plague us. He learned that the cause is most often found in the stresses of our lifestyles that place on our bodies. Using wearables, he found a way to track and regulate his nervous system and physiology to improve health and longevity. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you today about wearables and HRV. As I was telling you before we started recording, this is something we haven't dove deep into on this show yet. So I think listeners are really going to love this episode. The first thing I want to just understand, hearing that you've had over 100,000 consultations in your career, that's a lot of experience. And I'm so curious to hear, what were some of the common lifestyle patterns looking back that you observed that were eroding people's health?
I think in general, it's the general condition of people with too much stress and not too much physiological resilience. So they would have a poor VO2 max, they would not be able to run, they would be overweight, they would not be metabolically healthy, having too high blood sugar, too high blood pressure. And so the way that we live in our day, in the modern world, in the Western world, will create an inflammation in our body that will manifest itself in all the different organs, including the brain, including giving us neurodegenerative disorders, that's a tongue twister, and heart disease, cancer, and so 80% of the diseases that I treat as a doctor, even in the ER, will be based on a lifestyle that we're not very evolved to be. I think that is important for people to know that with a better lifestyle, they can actually gain 24 more years of good life if they improve their lifestyle. And that is what my book, The Pulse Cure, is about. The good strategies for sleeping better, for better nutrition, for better movement, and so on. And to be able to active rest, do breath work and these things to manage to mitigate the stress that we are under and build our capacity, so to speak. And then the good thing is that our heart rate will reveal the kind of the strain on our bodies. And as you have seen, you had the Aura Ring even longer than me. I think I've had it for 4 years and you had it for 7 years. So these are technology that can help us to find this balance that we don't really, it's really hard to find it without listening to the heart.
Okay. So let's just go straight into that, because we've definitely talked a lot about nutrition and some of these other topics before. So what is important when it comes to the heart to look at? We want to look at our HRV. What is that? How does it work? What does it tell us about our bodies and our health?
Yeah. So the heart rate doesn't actually tell us too much about the heart itself. So that may come as a surprise to people. What it tells us much more about is the autonomic nervous system, the nervous system in the bottom of our brains, the really basic system that we share with all vertebrates and all mammals. And this is divided into two parts. The sympathetic part, the fight, flight, and freeze part that will mobilize us if we, historically went hunting or were being hunted, to keep us alive, the survival system. But on the other hand, you have the parasympathetic system, the rest and digest and relax system that calms us down and gives us this balance. And this is will be revealed in the heart rate, because if we are in the parasympathetic restful mode, then when we breathe in, the heart rate goes up a little bit, and when we breathe out, the heart rate goes down a little bit, because when we breathe in, there's more oxygen, it speeds up, and breathe out, there's less oxygen. But when we're in the sympathetic, activating mode, mobilizing mode, then the heart rate will be beating at the steady pace, just like a clock, like a metronome, regardless of our breath. So this is how the wearables can track our heart rate variability and then make an estimate of our stress balance, whether we are in the stressful state or in the parasympathetic relaxed state, and if this balance is sustainable over time, which is, of course, often is not in our modern world, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
and which will then create inflammation-based diseases, chronic stress-based diseases.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, this is a window into our nervous system health.
Yeah, it's a window into our nervous system and it's very unique in that way, and it's very easy, so that it doesn't take any invasive, like you have to go into your body or take some blood samples. So it's almost a beautiful for a doctor to see that the very basic vital signals of our heart rate and our breath is what can give us this insight into our nervous system, which is one of the most important things, because I think we have prioritized or focused too much on our prefrontal cortex, the intellectual part of our brain.
Mm-hmm.
But this brain that we could call the reptilian brain has been overlooked to a large degree, probably because we haven't had a biometric measure for it. But now we have it and it's available to everyone, and you can literally then take the control of your health into your own hands. And
Mm-hmm.
on your watch or on your ring, it's like having a dashboard for your physiology. So you can see that if you are understrained or overstrained, and which is probably what you have seen also in your Aura ring.
Yeah. And so for people to understand like the actual numbers part. So this is instead of the heartbeat, which is just, okay, how many beats per minute is my heart going? This is the actual variability between essentially like how quickly or how slowly your heart's beating kind of throughout the day. Is that the
That's
easiest way to
right.
explain it?
That's right. And some wearables would be very so you can see it in real time. So I could see that when I breathe in, my heart rate goes up to maybe 70. When I breathe out, the heart rate can go down to 50. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just like 1 second in each beat. It will go up and down by my breath. And when we have this variation, that's a good sign. It's a sign that you have good connection with your vagus nerve. It's a sign that your body has reserve capacity, that you have resilience, and that your immune system is working well. So
Mm-hmm.
heart rate variability is also a measure of the state of your immune system. If you are straining yourself too much, there will be not enough energy for your immune system, and it will not work optimally.
Do you have, so I know that as HRV can vary significantly. Some people have like a little bit of a lower baseline, a higher baseline. Women, their HRV varies depending upon where they're in their cycle. Men and women have slightly different HRVs. It lowers as you age. So there's a lot of factors. But are there some general camps of where numbers should be that you could give us so that if someone's gets a device, they can kind of know
Mhm.
what to be looking for?
Yeah, there would be. So the average probably for say a 40-year-old or 50-year-old would be maybe around 30 in milliseconds in heart rate variability. And it could be down to 15, 20. It can be very high as well. It can be up to 100, if you're younger. The younger you are, the higher the variability, as a sign that your body is more resilient. And you will go down by the age,
Mm.
it will go quite steep down from your 20 to 40, and then will flatten out a bit. If you see the graphs, if you Google HRV and age, you would find this kind of hockey stick, reverse hockey stick graph. But you would be careful not to compare your heart rate variability to other people because it's about 50% genetic difference. So
Mm.
that, say, if you have 30 and your friend has 60, you may have exactly the same objective health level. So you should really
See.
compare to your best days and find out what did you do to manage that, what kind of triggers, would make your heart rate variability lower and what would make it better, and then try to find out. So that, of course, now we have artificial intelligence helping us. So what these wearables do and their companies is that they have millions of users. They use algorithms and artificial intelligence to tell you whether you should slow down or if you should speed up, or be more active. So, like the Aura Ring would say, is it time to stretch your legs? If you
Mm.
have been to sitting still for 1 hour or so. And it would suggest that you would go for a walk or do some more exercise. If you have done too much, if you are too stressed, it would just say that now you should take a rest day, and it will not measure your activities during the days if you are too stressed, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, for women, when they see the menstrual cycle in their heart rate variability, they can see that the PMS period is not only a feeling or a sensation or a mood, it's an actual strain on your system. You can see it in your heart rate variability. It goes down, and your capacity for strain and for exercise and whatever reason is lower. So you should relax more that week, take more care of yourself, do breath work instead of hard exercise and so on, and skip the alcohol, skip the chocolate, even if you feel like it, and so on. And when you see the effect, for example, on late night meals, chocolate, and so on, wine, um, on your wearable, it's more motivating to do a better choice when you can see the
Mm.
results.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I also like the Aura Ring because it looks at my body temperature and you can see the micro movements through the cycle as well. So I can see, oh, I'm going into my luteal phase. My sleep is getting a little bit worse and my HRV is going a little bit down. My body temperature is changing, and so it can really help me and other people as well, to change lifestyle in accordance to that. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the habits that we need to change to improve our HRV. And let's start with sleep because that is a really big one. What are common mistakes people are making with sleep, and what are some of your top strategies to improve that?
Yeah, so sleep, that's the most important thing to start with, and it's also the first chapters in my book on
Hmm.
sleep, because when you sleep well, then you have energy to do the other choices. That could be harder, to do exercise and do other choices in nutrition. So the worst mistake would probably be to underestimate the importance of sleep. So you really should have 7 to 8 hours of effective sleep, not just time in bed, but that your Oura ring or your device would say is your time spent in sleep.
Hmm.
So you may need to be in bed maybe half an hour or 40 minutes more than that. And what you also need to track is that it is restorative sleep, because you could sleep for 8 hours after having 3 glasses of wine, for example. But for most people, that would be very stressful sleep. And you would be able to see that in your heart rate variability throughout the night. And so you would need, for good night's sleep, you would need to stop eating maybe 3 hours before you go to bed. You would need to not drink alcohol. You would need to calm down 1 or 2 hours before you go to bed, dim down the lights, take it easy, read a book or whatever calms you down. And you would also need to have a good sleep consistency. So that's very important to try to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time every day. In that way, your brain is more prepared to go quickly into the right sleep phases, like the deep sleep and REM sleep and so on. And you would need to have your bedroom quite cold. So maybe a lot of people would think that, okay, you need to be warm in bed, but that's not actually the best thing for recovery. So you would recover better when you are a bit cold. And you would be able to see these results then from your wearable. So that would be something, some of the things. And of course, caffeine, that you should refrain from having caffeine, at least I think after 12 o'clock, because the coffee that you drink at 12 o'clock, 25% of it will still be there 12 hours later. So that, and some are more vulnerable for caffeine than others. They metabolize it slower. So you would need to find out. And a lot of people think that, okay, I can drink coffee and sleep. But when in the sleep labs, they can tell that the amount of deep sleep that you really need will not be as qualitative as it could be if you ever had caffeine too late. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so sleep is one of the most important things for HRV. What are the other few buckets that are going to be most important for people?
Then it would be exercise, that they would have a healthy level of exercise that doesn't need to be too much. You need to get your heart rate up. And according to research and a podcast I listened to even today from the Norwegian University, is that you only actually need half an hour a week, as long as you get your heart rate up to the 85% from your maximum heart rate. So that would, for most people, would be maybe 160 to 170. If you, for 4 minutes every day, can get your heart rate up like that, that is enough to get a help for your health reason. It will not, of course, bring you to the top of the marathon list, but for health reasons, that is really, really good. And that should be within range for most people. You could do it in the office, just running up and down the stairs or running at the same spot, and getting your heart rate up. So that's important to move, get some muscles, to build your capacity, because you can easily see that the people with a good VO2 max, a good physical fitness, they live longer and they have a more resilient body. They can tolerate more of both physical and mental strain, which is probably why one of the best things for mental health is to exercise and go out, be in the nature, using your body. So that's really important. And of course, also nutrition. A lot of people find out when they start measuring their heart rate that they cannot tolerate all the food that they're eating. And it's particularly flour-based food, wheat and grains and all of this, bakery goods, that will really take a toll on the heart rate variability. I cannot tolerate that. And for me as a doctor, to see that was really a shock to me, that this would affect my stress levels. I thought that stress is kind of mental, that you're busy or you have some anxiety or some trouble in your mental life. But when you start measuring your heart rate, you can see that for most people, it's the food that really stresses their systems, and particularly junk food, fast food, ultra-processed food, and also then for a lot of people, gluten, milk or dairy products. And when they can see it in the heart rate, it's so much easier to balance it. Maybe take 2 weeks without it and see what happens to your heart rate.
I want to take a moment to introduce you to a powerful resource that could transform your health. If you or someone you love is battling an autoimmune disease, or if you're plagued by unexplained symptoms like brain fog, chronic fatigue, digestive issues, or joint pain, then I have a webinar that is crafted specifically for you. This free webinar will reveal the top 4 mistakes that might be keeping you stuck and unwell, And more importantly, it will guide you through what you should be doing differently. From identifying the right lab tests that will reveal the actual causes of your symptoms to the immediate nutrition and lifestyle changes that can help. This webinar is packed with valuable, actionable insights that can seriously change your life. So don't miss out on this opportunity to start feeling vibrant and healthy again. Click the link in the show notes to sign up or visit naturalhealthrising.net/webinar. That's naturalhealthrising.net/webinar to change your life today. Okay, I was just going to ask, is if someone is able to see it in real time, if you eat gluten, for example, and you're tracking your HRV within an hour or so of ingesting that food, I'm just wondering, does it spike your heart rate and you can kind of see that stress in real time? Or is it best to, like you said, okay, let's take it out for a week or 2 weeks and then just watch the
Yeah,
improvement from that?
you can see it in real time, but then you would need a Garmin watch. So the Oura
Okay.
Ring and many of the other devices will not be able to find that. So to micromanage your stress levels in this way, that I also refer to in my book, then you need the Garmin watches. So they will track it 24/7. You can easily see that, okay, the stress was in this meeting from 1 to 2 o'clock. That is where the stress happened. Um, and the reason why Garmin is the best one in this is they bought the algorithms and the system of a Finnish company called Firstbeat and just incorporated it into their watches. So that's the best system that I would recommend, and it's also the cheapest one. I think it's even probably half price from Aura. So Aura has the advantage that it's not so intrusive. It's a ring, easy to wear. You check it in the morning, maybe you check it in the evening. I'm not sure how you use it, but Garmin is a device that I can at any point, I can just have a look at my watch and I will see the stress level in the moment, which is now in this moment 37 on a scale from 0 to 100. And I can see that my body battery, because they will show it accumulated, throughout the day, that my body battery today is 34, which is quite good for me. So, but I think I was eating something yesterday that I couldn't tolerate very well. So when I woke up in the morning, my body battery was not optimal. So this is how you can see in the morning, also on the Oura Ring, you can see that you are having too much strain on your body, and you would make some choices for the coming day, that maybe you will skip that hard workout, or if you have a good readiness, you will do a hard workout, and you're able to regulate the intensity of the day from those numbers. You shouldn't trust it, you shouldn't make it the most important thing. It's more like a companion that can help you take better choices. You need to use both the artificial intelligence and your own intelligence, of what is happening in your life. So it's not everything that you should consider. You should just have it as a support, I would say, for your decisions.
Yeah, I've heard that argument before of, oh, well, if we only focus on looking at the numbers, then we're losing being in tune with our own bodies. But I totally agree. I look at both. I like looking at it every morning when I wake up. I take it, I put it on my charger, I upload the data, I see kind of what's happening for the day, and then I can make a decision based upon both how I'm feeling and my data. And so I try not to lean too heavily on either one, but that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and we don't really have a good sense of our inner stress levels, because that is a sense that we never needed to develop. It's only in the last, 50 years, and probably for real in the last 10, 15 years, that we really need to take care of our own stress levels. But earlier, throughout those millions of years of evolution, we never, all our senses were directed outwards to the outward threats, from a lion, from an enemy, from foul food that we shouldn't eat, and so on. So we have an excellent taste, excellent smell, excellent eyesight and hearing. But the sense of my inner body, I cannot feel, whether I, at this moment, have 60 or 80 in heart rate, or even probably 85, I have no notion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not equipped to feel that, or nobody are. And that is because if we felt the noise of our inner systems and inner stress levels, that would be in the way of the outward signals. So if I could feel that noise, maybe I wouldn't be able to see that movement, in the bushes. That would be a lion that would just eat me first, before the other members of the tribe. So that is why we really can't feel this. That is why so many people get into a burnout situation, where these wearables would warn you long beforehand that you are overstraining yourself.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. I took on this extra project over the last week, and over the weekend, I started to feel a little off, and my Oura ring went off this weekend, saying like, "Hey, your respiratory rate is really high at night, and your body temperature is going a little bit up." And I correlated it immediately with this project. I was like, "Okay, I've got to do some extra stress management tools before I go to bed and really work on my breathing and kind of adjust some things." But I am so used to and capable of taking on a lot of things that I don't feel mentally overstressed, right? I'm like, oh, I can do this thing. And I see a lot of my clients like that as well. They just kind of get used to being a mom and taking care of the kids and working and husband and all the to-do list. And then it just kind of starts to feel normal, right? And so
Mm.
until we have that external check-in point, maybe we're not
Yeah.
realizing that we're in that state of a little bit of internal stress and overwhelm, like you're saying.
Absolutely. And when we put these wearables on hunter-gatherer societies that still exist today, then we can see that they are in a quiet, restful state like 10 or 12 hours a day in the daytime, in the wake
Mm,
time. And they are in moderate to light activity up to 3 hours a day.
mhm,
And that is the balance that we are constructed for. So, of course, when we have a hard job, we have a family, there's a lot of activities, we try to exercise, we don't have the time to have proper nutrition, it doesn't go well. And that is why the immune system is always pushed back. We can always push the immune system back by going into the sympathetic system and stressful system. But over time, that will lead to autoimmune diseases. It will can lead to cancer, to heart
mhm,
disease, to neurodegenerative diseases, and give us so many problems. It could, and also a lot of these burnout symptoms, fatigue, brain fog, many of the things that are daily issue at my office as a doctor.
mhm,
So it's a huge problem actually. And in my mind, these variables for the inflammation-based diseases is as important as antibiotics against infectious diseases. Because you would not go into a burnout situation without these devices warning you beforehand, as I said. And there's so many people, getting into a sick for years and having a big trouble getting back to their life again. Yeah.
mhm. Is there a particular reason that a woman would want to track particularly, like more, maybe more so than a
Absolutely.
man?
Absolutely. And that is because of the menstrual cycle. And the week before menstruation is a heavy load on the system. And once you see that and you're able to mitigate the stress, then you won't have those PMS symptoms. I have so many people, on Instagram. I have like 32,000 followers on Instagram. So I get like 20 graphs or questions every day, with images of what they see on their wearables.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see, of course, I don't have menstruation, so but I can see from the curves that I get that having PMS is as hard as having a hard COVID infection. COVID could also be easy, but when I see a hard COVID infection, it is the same dip in heart rate variability and for the same amount of time as in the PMS period. So for so many women, it's like having a COVID infection, and obviously once a week every month. And then it becomes more clear that it's becomes a lot harder for women to be in their working life if they don't, if they're not aware of it. Once you get aware of it, then you know that, okay, you can do something. You can do more breath work. You can do a cold shower or a cold plunge, which is also very effective. You can sleep a little bit more, reduce the alcohol, reduce the exercise, do yoga instead, and so on. And life becomes so much easier. So many women are, I think 85% of my followers on Instagram are women. So it seems that this is a particularly important thing for women. I know my publisher used to think that this was a male thing, with technical things and devices and so on, but it's by far for women it's most important because it can help women out of symptoms and disease. For men, it's often much more a performance thing. They want to perform better. They want to sleep better to perform better at their work. Of course, women also want that, but they also are much more prone to stress-related diseases than men.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think if you look around, and both probably among your friends and your clients, you can see that the stress takes a bigger toll on women. I think also because uh, women tend to take on emotional stress more than men. They have more often feel guilty. They are often more worried than men, and which makes it even more important to manage the stress levels with the tools that they have. There's not everything that you can control. Maybe you have small children, you have this kind of work, but there will be things regarding your stress levels that you can control, that
Mm-hmm.
you probably have experienced yourself also. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That week before the period, I tell all my female clients who are menstruating, like you said, yoga, lighter weightlifting, long walks, um, changing even your schedule a little bit. Like if you run a business, instead of if you have a lot of calls that you take, can you actually move more of those calls earlier into your cycle, in your follicular phase? And can you give yourself a little bit more of a break that week before your period where you're just doing like administrative tasks and kind of back end work? Can you meal prep really, really well for that, but like right before that last week before your period, so that you're not cooking as much and you can just heat up meals instead of having to do more work in the kitchen? Or can you order a meal delivery service for that week? So there's so many little ways that we can get creative with how can we just give ourselves a little bit more of a break, because unfortunately we are held to the same standard in society as men of we should be working the same amount and doing the same things. So sometimes you got to get creative with what areas of your life you can give a little bit more of a break around that time. But yeah, I totally
Mm.
agree with all that you just said.
Mm. And what's also important is that this shows how you react to certain thing, because I can clearly see that we're all individual. We all react differently. And
Mm-hmm.
so many couples, for example, can do the same thing, and they will see that the whatever they're doing will affect one or the other differently. And once you see that, it becomes so much easier to manage. What you can measure, you can manage, of course. So, so that's also interesting. So for many people think that this would be stressful. That's the most common question I get.
Mm.
But for most people, it becomes fun. This window into your autonomic nervous system, and suddenly you can kind of navigate your own physiology and see the results. For most people, it's just fun. It's like a gamification, and it's your own life and health that is at stake, and not just some avatar in a game. So it becomes very important. And so I don't think there's a few people will be too stressed by it. There are some people that will be too stressed by it, but most people will find that they have more control of their circumstances than they feared in the first place. What do you think about that? Are you stressed or you feel it's fun or?
No, for me, it doesn't stress me out. I do it's a little bit of gamification for me as well as motivation. And so yeah, if I see the hard data, I'm like, okay, my body isn't lying right now. I you need to go to sleep on time tonight, or I was slacking on my workouts this week and clearly my HRV is
Mm.
low. So get back in the gym, get back to
Mm.
my workouts, and then I'll watch it go up. And that's great because I understand how important it is to have that higher HRV. And I want to have a good balanced nervous system and live a long, healthy, happy life. So I think as
Yeah,
long as
and
people understand that, and then it can be like
mm,
motivating as well as fun for them.
yeah, absolutely. And it's not only about well-being in the moment, but if you Google kind of any disease and add heart rate variability, you will find lots of research because this is an easy metric to get into your study. So there's so much research on cancer, heart disease, stroke, whatever, autoimmune diseases, dementia, Parkinson, and add heart rate variability, and you would find lots of results. So it's also for longevity that it's important. So of course, I cannot say that, okay, if you get a better heart rate variability on your aura, you will live longer. But the evidence says that people with a better heart rate variability are healthier and live longer and are less prone to all these inflammation-based diseases that is so like an epidemic in the US and everywhere. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about what happens to the body when the body is shifting into the sympathetic nervous system, you've kind of mentioned it a couple times, but your immune system depletes, right? It kind of shuts off. Your digestive system almost shuts off as well, right? You're not producing enzymes, you're not breaking down your food and your nutrients, you're not absorbing those nutrients. So, what does that lead to? That can lead to nutrient deficiencies and lots of different diseases. Um, so it's just overall, there's so many systems in the body that just aren't working optimally. So if you can think of it from that lens of, okay, if I can be in more of a parasympathetic state more frequently or understand how to balance that more, then that means my immune system is strong, my inflammation is low, my digestion is working, I'm absorbing the nutrients from my food. Everything in the body is going to be working better, which then again leads to all of that disease prevention as well. So, hold up, let's address a common mistake that I see way too often, which is not getting enough quality protein. It is crucial for rebuilding tissues, supporting hormone health, and boosting your energy and mood. But here's the thing, not all protein sources are created equal. That's where Equip Prime Protein steps in. It's crafted from 100% grass-fed beef isolate, and this protein powder is free from fillers, dairy, and unnecessary additives, making it a powerhouse for anybody who is serious about their health. It's also perfectly suited for those on an AIP diet, paleo diet, or any clean eating nutrition plans, and it's designed to support gut health, muscle repair, and hormone balancing without the bloating or digestive stress that's commonly associated with other protein powders. Plus, it actually tastes good and it blends easily into smoothies, coffee, or even baked goods. My favorite flavors are the chocolate and the cinnamon roll, and I love making protein pancakes with these. If you're serious about healing and feeling your absolute best, don't let a protein deficiency slow you down. Use my link in the show notes or enter code NHR15 at checkout to save 15% on all Equip food products. That's NHR15 at checkout and click the link in the show notes. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, and it's a natural health rising podcast, and what is good to see is that what is natural is also free. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever, all the advice in my book is free. And some is even cheaper than the alternative. So being outside in nature, getting sun exposure, doing breath work, cold exposure, uh, eating real food, whole foods, uh, moving naturally, exercising, building fitness level. You can do all this for free. Sleeping better, everything is free. So it's only after you get sick, that is when the expenses come. And for so many people, also in the US, it's like you're working all your life to save money for your retirement period, and then you get sick, and the insurance company and the health care industry will just take all your money. So I think it's important for as an insurance for yourself that you invest some time in getting a better physiology it will pay off both economically and in extra years of life. Actually, there's a big American study. I think it's around 700,000 people, veterans from the army, that shows that if you do the strategies in the pulse cure, that is more or less the same as in the pulse cure, you live 24 years longer than if you don't do those. And that would be, you would probably ask me about that, but that is to have good relationships, to have a way to mitigate stress, to have a good physical activity, to sleep well, to avoid excess alcohol, to not smoke, and also not to use opioids. So that is something I don't have in the pulse cure, but that's also important. And if you do those things right, then you can live 24 years longer than if you do these things wrong. If you have poor relationships, smoke, drink too much alcohol, and poor nutrition and so on. And the good thing is that even if you're 60, there will be like 16 or 18 years old more to get out of life. So it's never too late. Earlier, as doctors, we used to think that, okay, once you're 70 or 75, it doesn't matter much what you do. But that's the time that is most important to implement these strategies.
I really don't drink alcohol anymore. I quit that a while ago. But what is the stress that it does to our bodies, and is there a way that you recommend to people to help them reduce that?
Mhm. Yeah, the tricky thing about alcohol and why I used to drink every day for until probably 10 years ago, because it was recommended by doctors, 2 glasses of wine for men and one for
Mm-hmm.
women. It was recommended. I recommended it to patients. Um, so the tricky thing about alcohol is that the alcohol in itself will relax you. It will release GABA inhibitors. It will, calm you down, and you will see that on your Garmin watch. You will see it immediately that you get into the parasympathetic state, this blissful state. The problem comes after you go to sleep. Then the alcohol is converted into acetaldehyde, and that is very poisonous. And your liver and your whole body needs to get rid of this toxin, and that is very stressful. I can see in my graphs that in the morning, if I've had, 4 glasses of alcohol, for example, I can see that the stress level is as high rated in the heart rate variability as if I'm for like 6 hours holding a lecture. So when I wake up in the morning feeling groggy after a night out, it's not just a feeling. It's my body has been through a marathon trying to get rid of the acetaldehyde and also some methanol actually. So there will be a certain percentage of methanol in it converted in your body that is also, toxic to you.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips? Like, how did you stop or limit drinking alcohol? Do you have tips for people who are trying to make that transition?
Yeah, I think it's easier just to stop.
Mm.
And of course, then when you see the heart rate variability go way up and you can see this result, it becomes more motivating. I realized it the first time because I was working as a doctor 24/7 for 1 week, uh, being on call for 1 week in a pretty busy district. And I had one day off where I used to have a bottle of wine, and then I would have one more week on call. And I could, I was just surprised because I used to drink, 2 or 3 glasses of wine every day, so I didn't have anything to compare it with. And I was surprised that after that day off with a bottle of wine, I was much more tired than 7 days working continuously in a very busy district. I would sleep at night, maybe 5 hours at night, and so I would be disturbed, suddenly being in the ambulance, going somewhere for a patient with a heart attack or cardiac arrest or something. But then I saw that okay, there's something wrong here, and I just quit. And I think that's the
Mm.
easiest thing. Um, but yeah, maybe you would need to quit for like 3 months to see the result and really feel the difference. And so many people, I haven't been talking to anyone tracking their heart rate that hasn't cut down on alcohol. Not necessarily cutting it totally out, but
Mm-hmm.
reducing it to another level so that they would probably keep the, if they go to a celebration or a certain party, but they would keep drinking, but also knowing that the day after, it actually takes, according to Whoop, which is also a very good wearable, it takes 5 days until they're back again at the same recovery rate. So it takes a long time. And once you know that, you can balance the stress. It's just like this is a way to get insight into your physiological budget.
Mm-hmm.
You know the bank account, you know it's important to know how much money you have in the bank to spend, but this will give you how much physiological resources can you spend. And then, of course, if you've had one night out, you don't have that much physiological resources for the coming days. So I think that's an important thing to get this insight into this budget. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah, I know for me, when I first started to reduce my alcohol, I would just turn to, I don't need to do this anymore, but I would drink like um, oh, now I don't remember the name of them. There's brands now that create these alcohol-free beverages that have like L-theanine in them and different compounds that kind of give you this nice relaxed feeling, but there's no alcohol.
Mm.
Or doing like soda water with lime, right? These different
Mm.
things to kind of feel like, oh, I'm having a beverage. And then over time, once you get through that phase, then it gets a lot
Mm.
easier. But that would
Yeah, you
be
could have
my
like
personal tip.
fermented kombucha or something,
Hmm.
So that's fermented drinks that is probably healthier for you. So
Absolutely. Yes.
instead,
Oh, Kin Euphorics. That's the name of the company. I don't
mm.
know if you guys have those in Norway.
No, I haven't heard of it. No.
Okay. Um, did we get to all of the devices? I know you have like kind of a
Yeah,
list of the best devices. We
yeah,
talked a little bit about Garmin and Aura. You just mentioned Whoop.
yeah, yeah. So it de depends on what you want. How much attention do you want to pay into this? If you're if you're in a really poor health and you really need to get your autonomic nervous system and physiology in balance, then I would clearly recommend Garmin. So much easier to see what is happening to your body. If you if you think that it's too much for you or it would stress you, then you can sell your Garmin and get an Aura or a Whoop instead. That is basically what you check in the morning. You check your heart rate variability, you check your sleep quality, and you can add and tag whatever you did that day, so you will get a report on how you're doing and what is useful for you. On Whoop, you will get a weekly report and a monthly report that is useful. Um, and and you don't have so many people don't like to be able to watch their heart rate, in real time, and having, they are too disturbed by that.
Hmm.
Then they could have these other devices. But as I said, most people think it's just fun. And so, yeah, I would say Garmin number one, Aura and Whoop. I would say both of them are okay. I think Samsung is also having their Galaxy Ring and Galaxy Watch. They have incorporated a lot of artificial intelligence into it. So there's so much things happening now in this
Hmm.
area. And so for me as a doctor, it's very good to see that there is money to be made on the front side of disease and not just after you get sick. So I think this is really going to revolutionize healthcare,
Hmm.
that you get the control instead of that your doctor get the control. So this is a huge shift in power from the healthcare system and your doctors and your other practitioners into your own hands and giving you the control, to a much larger degree. Not totally, of course, but to a much larger degree. And also there are so many companies also getting your DNA results and your blood test results combined with this information from different wearables, also like blood sugar, continuous glucose monitors, and so on. So I think this is a really, really big trend. And I know in Austin, in where you live, that there's a huge health conference and biohacker or in health optimizing conference or something, I think it's called. So it's a huge thing, and it will just grow in the coming years because people want to be healthy, and they can see that they have a much bigger chance of taking the control than they used to have with this with the help of these wearables.
Okay, amazing. One final question for you. If you could leave the listeners with one tip that they could implement this week for them to live a healthier, happier life, what would that be?
The most important, I think, would be to prioritize sleep, to make sure that they get this 7 to 8 hours, calm down before they go to sleep. Yeah, cut the alcohol, avoid late night meals. Um, so that I think would be the most important thing. And yeah, and buy the Pulse Cure, buy my book. It's actually the only book, and it is really really strange because it's so big, or all of these different devices, but still my book is actually the only book that can tell you how to use these different lifestyle strategies compared to heart rate variability and the devices. So, and which is why it's translated. It's been a just tremendous success in Norway. Really, almost changed the whole healthcare system, and is translated into 7 languages. So it's for me as a normal doctor. Until I wrote the book, released 2 years ago in Norway, just a normal anonymous doctor. But now my life certainly changed totally upside down, just like being in a tornado now for 2 years. And I've really had much use of these devices to help me keep the balance even in this busy period. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll link up that book. And then is the other best place for people to find you on your Instagram, Dr. Torkil?
Yeah, Instagram, I'm Dr. Torkil, yeah. And the book is also an audiobook, so many podcast listeners would prefer to listen to the book rather than reading it. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and I can't wait for listeners to go start to learn about their HRV and all of their get a wearable and get into this stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
If you're tired of your health issues dictating your life and you're ready to explore functional medicine labs and holistic health practices, this message is for you. At Natural Health Rising, our clients have defied the odds, naturally improving conditions like multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, EOE, Graves' disease, Hashimoto's, lupus, digestive issues, hormone imbalances, and more. Imagine reclaiming your energy and mental clarity, getting rid of pain and inflammation, enjoying time with your loved ones, engaging in your favorite hobbies again, and eating with confidence, knowing exactly which foods benefit your health. If you're ready to feel less stressed and stop the endless cycle of doctor's visits with no clear answers, then it's time to take the first step towards a healthier, happier life. Apply for a free health consultation today and just use the link in the show notes, choose a date that works for you, fill out a short form, and you'll be on your way to discussing how to holistically heal your body with me or a member on my team. I look forward to helping you transform your health and reclaim your life. Thank you so much for joining me on the Natural Health Rising podcast. I hope this episode empowered you to take action and take control of your health and gave you the tools you need to improve your health naturally. If you found value in today's conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone that you care about so that they can live a healthier, happier life too. Remember, the information provided in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or medical condition. If you're looking for personalized support to finally get to the root cause of your health struggles, I work with clients worldwide using functional lab testing, custom health protocols, and one-on-one support. Just visit the link in the show notes to book a free health consultation with me or someone on my team so that we can see what's possible for you. Thank you for listening and keep striving to become your healthiest, happiest self. See you in the next episode.